Is this mic on? Ugh, so bad with fucking technology.
Mommy, you said the F word.
Sorry, babe. Welcome to Mommy You Said the F Word. I'm your host, Sarah Goldsboro. I've experienced firsthand the messy, magical, and sometimes maddening world of motherhood. We'll share some laughs and shed some tears as I dive deep into the highs and lows of life, confront loss, chat about career, fitness, creating a life you love, finding yourself again after kids, and who the fuck knows what else. This is a space where authenticity reigns supreme, so get ready to strip away the BS and get candid as fuck. Hey guys, I'm recording this episode during National Infertility Awareness Week, so I thought that would be a good time for me to share an excerpt from the book that I co-authored, The Losses We Keep. I want to share an excerpt from my chapter that I feel like is the best way to describe my purpose for writing my story, and then also my purpose for doing the podcast and some other projects that I'm working on. So I'm going to start by reading a few excerpts from my chapter, and my chapter is called Chasing Rainbows. My pregnancy losses will always be a part of me, but they no longer consume me. I've made my peace with that part of my journey as well as with God. I'm not angry about it anymore. I think that I was given my journey for a purpose. I believe God allowed me to walk this path because He knew I'd have the strength and courage to share it with others. Over the past few years, I've openly shared my experiences with miscarriages and abortion with my friends and clients, as well as via social media. The overwhelming love and support I received played a huge part in my healing process. Pregnancy loss, abortion, and fertility struggles are so common, yet so many women are forced to struggle silently because they don't know who to talk to. Opening up about my experiences has allowed me to connect with so many women and allowed me to create a safe space for them to share their experiences and struggles with me. This allows both of us to continue on in our healing process. At the very least, I know I can give the gift of momentary solace. So these women who are truly suffering, they know that they're not alone. I have worked hard to find that silver lining in my story. Stories like mine don't always have a seemingly happy ending, but amid the messiness and heartbreak, I have found meaning, purpose, and so much joy. And so that pretty much sums up for me where I am now in my journey. I get asked the question from time to time, like, don't you get tired of, talking about pregnancy loss, or don't you get tired of talking about your miscarriages? Because I do post periodically about it. And, I don't do it as often anymore because, again, I feel like writing my story, publishing the book, that was kind of a good way to close that chapter of my life. And starting the podcast was the continuation. I don't always talk about my pregnancy losses or miscarriages or talk about that kind of subject matter on every episode, but that is part of the reason why I started my podcast, and that was the reason why I wrote my story in The Losses We Keep. I wanted to share my story. I felt like it was, for me, a huge part of my healing process. And, everybody's different in the way that they heal from things, process things. Not everybody wants to talk about these types of things, and I totally get that. But it's important for me, as someone who has spoken publicly about the things that I've experienced in my life and, am continuing to talk about, it's important for me to be an open book with people if they want to talk about it. I have clients who are going through some really hard situations right now with IVF unexplained infertility, all sorts of different experiences. But the common thread with all of these things is that there's so many unanswered questions. There's so much uncertainty for the future. There's so much trauma and disappointment, and women feel so alone when they're going through these things. So it's very important for me to continue to talk about it. And if not for, anything other than letting people know that I am a safe space if you choose to, share what you're going through with me. I am here for you. I am open to listening and offering any kind of advice that I can. I'm here. And, that's sometimes all people want is just somebody who understands how they're feeling when they're going through a really hard time, because it is a very isolating experience. You feel like when you're, having a miscarriage, or you had a failed round of IVF, you feel like you're the only person in the world at that moment who's going through that. And it's just so frustrating, and it's so hard to be able to put into words how you're feeling. And so I feel very fortunate that I've been able to become a safe space for a lot of people in my life, friends, and especially clients. They see things that I've posted on my social media, or they listen to my podcast, and they know what I've been through, and they know that I am open to talking about things, because not everybody's super open about talking about miscarriage or abortion or pregnancy loss. These things are still, like, a lot of people don't like talking about them, but so many women are going through these things. And, so we need to be there for each other. And I mean, I am completely open. I had a new client recently. I knew she followed me on social media, so I knew there was a good chance she probably had seen some of my older posts about, when I had my miscarriages and when I had my abortion. And so I knew that she probably had seen that. So we were talking, and she started to talk about how she recently had a miscarriage. And when people bring things up to me, I just kind of let them lead the way. I kind of let them talk as much about it as they feel comfortable. And so she started to bring it up, and, she kind of stopped, and she was like, have you, been through anything like this? And I said, yes, I have. And I completely understand how you're feeling and, what you're going through. I just let them open that door, and I let them kind of go as deep or talk about it as long as they want, especially if I'm doing their hair. I'm physically, like, in their space. And so I feel like sometimes that just, like, allows people to open up a little bit more. And I definitely feel like my clients have a sense of relief a little bit after, they talk a little bit about what they've been going through. And I just can kind of validate their feelings, because a lot of women just feel like they're going through these things, and people just don't, maybe people in their life, their family, their husband, some of their friends, maybe they just feel like they don't have anybody in their life that really truly, like, gets how they're feeling. Like, yes, you can be supportive to somebody when they're going through something like a pregnancy loss, but there's a difference between supporting someone and then, understanding how they're actually feeling. And so I feel like that's the difference. And that's where I've kind of come in with a lot of my friends and a lot of my clients, because I do know firsthand how it feels to be going through these things. And although everybody's experience is different, I do know the emotions associated with pregnancy loss. And those emotions, no matter what form of pregnancy loss or infertility or anything associated with these types of things, the emotions are all very much the same. The stress and the sadness and the disappointment and the frustration and feeling like you just feel so alone, and then you just feel so like defeated and just feel like you want to give up, and just there's so much unknown. All of those emotions are very much the same for a lot of the women that I've spoken to and for myself. So it was just really important for me to continue on that journey. So when asked, do I get tired of talking about these things? The answer is no, because yes, it happened. And yes, I feel like somewhat on the other side when it comes to my personal healing journey. I'm not in the thick of it anymore. I'm a few years removed. So that does give you some, distance from it to where you can talk about it and you're not wrapped up in the emotions of it all. So I am able to, talk about it and offer support to other women who are currently going through it with somewhat of a different perspective than if it were kind of a little fresher. So no, I don't get tired of talking about it because it's something that will always be a part of me. It's a part of who I am. It's in my soul. It's in my heart. And it will always be something that I can associate with. And it will always be something that I will have empathy for women who are going through these types of things, because any kind of pregnancy loss, infertility, or any kind of struggles when it comes to trying to become a mother, it's hands down the hardest thing a woman will experience probably in her lifetime. And I mean, my grandmother, she passed away last year at 93 years old. And, she would still talk about, even into her 90s, about how she had a stillborn 70 some years ago. So it's not something that ever leaves you. It's something that you learn to cope with. It's something that you eventually are able to heal from, but it's not something that ever leaves a woman. And so what I've chosen to do with my experience is to be there for other women and to be a safe space for them and to be an open book and to answer any questions that they might have, and really just to kind of stand in solidarity with them and know that they're not alone. They're not on this journey alone. And, there is hope for them, and that they won't always feel this way forever. These strong, hard emotions that they're dealing with while they're going through these things, it's not always going to feel this way, but it's okay to feel this way right now. You're allowed to sit in those emotions and feel those emotions, and you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to feel whatever you need to feel, but you will eventually move forward. I like to say move forward because you never quite move on completely from pregnancy loss, miscarriage, infant loss, abortion, any kind of fertility struggle. You never quite move on from it, but you do move forward because life is forward moving. You have no choice but to move forward. And the further forward you move, the further away from your experience you will eventually get to, a place where those emotions aren't tying you down and weighing you down quite so intensely. So I like to just be there for however I can be, offer support, offer solidarity, offer comfort, advice. So, yeah, part of the continuation of my journey was writing my story. That really helped me heal a lot. And a lot of women who have read the book have really gotten a lot out of it. It's really helped a lot of women and made them feel like they weren't so alone in what they were experiencing. And the feedback from the book was just so amazing. And it really did make me want to continue being there for women in whichever way that I could. And having this podcast and continuing to talk about these types of things is part of that. I'm also in the process of starting a support group for women. I have a lot of different things going on in my life. This is something that is a goal for this year to, slowly but surely have a working support group for women. And that is really important to me. I was supposed to have an event earlier this year and it didn't end up working out, but I still have goals to have events periodically and just small support group meetings, whether that's taking a walk or having like small impromptu group meetings at various places throughout the month. Or I do have a Facebook group and it's called Bounce Back Club. Bounce Back Club is essentially a support group for women who have experienced fertility struggles, pregnancy loss, any kind of loss, miscarriage, anything of that nature. This is a safe space for women to come together and talk about their experience and just share their stories with each other and be there for each other. And so this year, one of my next goals is to have these events more often. And so it's something that I'm working on, and I will keep you posted on details. So, no, I don't get tired of talking about pregnancy loss. It is something that I will always talk about because, like I said, it is something that is a part of me at this point in my life. And it's something that has really changed me as a person. It's made me have more empathy for people. It's given me just a different perspective on life and, experiencing loss. It does change you as a person. It changed me and it changed the way that I see the world. It changed the way that I see people and see women, and it made me stronger, and it made me realize that I can not only get through hard things, but I can do hard things. And it did give me a strength that I didn't know that I had. And I do think that's special. And I want to continue to be support for other people. And, so that's where I am right now. So in honor of National Infertility Awareness Week, I wanted to share a little bit of my story from the book, The Losses We Keep, and also just kind of touch on where I am in my journey and what I am looking to give to other people, some things that are in the works down the line, just, so we can keep the conversation going, because these are important conversations and important things that we need to keep talking about when it comes to women and the things that we experience. And unfortunately, it is a club that nobody wants to be a part of, but we are all such strong, resilient women, and we really do need each other in times like this. I'm very open with the things that I've been through, and I hope that I encourage and inspire you to share your story, and I hope that that helps you heal in whatever you're going through. And I would love for you to reach out to me if you would like to share your story. I had a friend come on a few episodes ago and share her story of losing her firstborn daughter at a few weeks old. And I feel like these are just such important stories that need to be shared. And you never know who you're helping by sharing your story. So I would love to have more guests come on and share their personal stories. If you would like to share your story on the podcast, I would love to have you. So please reach out to me and we will chat about having you featured on a future episode. So stay tuned for upcoming events with Bounce Back Club. Again, that is the support group that I am in the process of working on. I started the Facebook page, the Facebook group, so you can go ahead and join that if you haven't already. Also follow on Instagram at Bounce Back Club, and I will post future events. Some will be very small, intimate events. Some will be a little bit larger, but the idea is really just to be a support group for women to come together and share their stories and their experiences and really just be supportive for each other so we don't feel so alone in what we're going through or have gone through. So yeah, stay tuned for more info on those events. And if you would like to purchase a copy of The Losses We Keep, it's available on Amazon. And I really encourage you to read it yourself if you are someone who has gone through fertility struggles or pregnancy loss or infant loss. Read it and then to pass it on to a friend or a family member who you feel like would benefit from it as well. They are just all personal stories, all different experiences, but we put so much heart and soul into it just for women to just be able to feel not alone in their journey. So that was really the main purpose for us sharing our stories with you. And thank you for joining me today. Feel free to reach out to me if you just need somebody to chat with when it comes to miscarriage, pregnancy loss. I am always here for that. I encourage you to share your story, and I would love to feature you on the podcast for an upcoming episode. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Just sending you so much love and support if you are currently going through something or if you have gone through something and you are in your healing journey. I'm always here for you. As always, thank you for listening to today's episode, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Show me some love by sharing this episode and be the first to know when new episodes drop by following the show wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe on YouTube and follow me on social media at Mommy You Said the F Word.